Cops of Reddit, what simple noise complaint call blew way out of proportion? I used to have a mentally unstable neighbor. One night she was screaming at our house from her balcony about the noise we were making and how she had called the cops. We didn't have the TV or stereo on. I was alone mashing potatoes in a stainless steel pot and the clink 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 of the metal masher on the pot somehow carried across the yard and aggravated her so much she needed to call the police. The police show up, knock and ask about the noise complaint. I explained that I was mashing potatoes and demonstrate the noise. They told me that they regularly respond to noise complaints from her and only 2 days before she had complained because her back neighbor was hammering in a picture hook at 2 in the afternoon. They tell me to just ignore her and bid me farewell. Ex-cop, NSW Australia, got sent to a street out the back of our sleepy little town. Sonian was using a chainsaw at 2 AM. Not unusual because the properties are really big, but this was being done next to another house, in a garage. It turned out to be a lady chasing her husband around the room trying to jab him in the dong with the chainsaw. Animal control officer here. I handle noise complaints when they involve animals, so usually it's about excessive barking, but not this time. I received a noise complaint about someone's cats, so I called the RP, reporting party, to get more info. I assumed they were obnoxiously loud Siamese cats or something, but no. This guy was complaining that his neighbor's cats played too loud at night. What? I went out to the property to see what was up and it turns out these people don't even share a wall. It's neighboring mobile homes in a mobile home park. The RP was absolutely outraged because those dang cats keep him up all night when they bat their little toys with bells in them all over the place. He insisted I write their crazy cat lady owner a citation on the spot. Thankfully, I was able to use the municipal code to my advantage here and point out that before I could issue a citation I would need to receive a second complaint, in writing, from another neighbor who was also bothered by the noise. No surprise, he couldn't convince anyone else to complain, and the cat lady and her rambunctious kitties lived happily ever after, cause that crazy RP moved away a few months later. Got a call for a noise complaint at a frequent flyer's house, so we cruised out figuring the guy was drunk and we'd pick him up on a parole violation. We got to his house and he had literally blown off half of his garage and half of his arm trying to make dabs. Turns out the guy thought he just had to burn a bunch of weed and it would melt down into oil, so he gathered up a dozen propane tanks and somehow managed to turn his garage into a bomb. The best part was he swore up and down, while he's screaming in pain, that we only came out to steal his crap. Hi, yes, I'd like to make a noise complaint about my neighbor. Yes, it sounds like he blew up half of his garage. I usually don't work on a night shift, but when I had to, of course I'm the one dealing with some creepy crap. Some old lady reported that weird noises can be heard from her neighbor's house and she sounded desperate, so we went there with my colleague. We showed up and it was completely silent on the street. The old lady met us on the street in her dressing gown and she told us that she heard screamings coming from her next door neighbor's house. It was weird because she didn't mention any screamings in the call. Another way, we would be there much faster. So we're knocking. No one answers. My colleague consulted the case with our supervisor and he allowed us to go in. He also sent the reinforcements. Okay, so we force the doors and go in. It's dark and quiet. We were searching the house only with our flashlights and we found nothing. We go to the floor and searching room by room. No one. The house is empty. My colleague is calling supervisor again, and suddenly I hear him screaming like a little girl. He jumped back to me with true freaking fear in his eyes. His hand went for the gun and then I saw it too. The old lady was in the home and she started charging at us with evil grin and making some scary hissing noises. My colleague was ready to shoot her, but fortunately the fear paralyzed him. The old lady got to us, screaming and beating us, but she was so weak that we barely felt anything. LOL. Turned out that she suffered from schizophrenia. I have no idea how it was possible that she was diagnosed so late, but good thing that it happened. We checked her house next and she was living in terrible conditions. Even if the house was nice from the outside, the owners of the house weren't really pleased after they heard what happened. LOL. Holy crap dude, LOL. I probably would have screamed too. Oh, I have a good one for this. While I wasn't the cop, I was one of the multiple neighbors calling it in. For months a neighbor that lives behind me played music with a lot of bass super loud in the middle of the night, usually not starting it till 11 PM. We tried going over there as a neighbor and saying, hey, all of our walls are thin and your neighbors are only like 20-30 feet away from you. Your music is so loud, it's shaking things in our place. Can you please turn it down? He says, yeah, of course, no problem. Worth to mention, when he opened the door, it was pretty clear he was doing meth or cocaine right before opening the door. So he turns it down then and we think, okay, cool. Problem solved. It's quiet for the next few days. Then it starts up again. We try to go talk to him and he is extremely rude this time, yelling at us through the door without actually opening it and such. So we decided we would call and make a noise complaint. We knew exactly where it was coming from so it would be easy. So we call the cops and they come over that night and that's the last we hear of it again for a few days. He does it again and we just call immediately this time and I told the officer I would sign a citation hoping it would make this guy stop. So the officer comes and talks to me and tells me the deal with it, and we decide that he will go talk to him again and give him a warning, and in the meanwhile, I will try to record it so I can present it in court. No citation this time. So he keeps the music going on and off for the next couple of weeks. When we decided to call in again, the officer comes over and tells me that all of my neighbors have been calling him into every night for the last 6-ish weeks and he is sick of this guy's attitude. I've been the only one willing to sign a citation, so if I sign it, the cop will come to court with all the video footage he has so I won't even have to worry about the evidence. So I sign it. My husband and I are thinking finally it's over. 2 nights go by and I'm coming home from work late at night when I notice several cops and a fire truck parked outside this guy's place. I can also smell smoke. I'm think great, this guy lit his place on fire cooking drugs. So I rush to my place to make sure everything's okay. The fire engine and everyone leaves not too long after. Come to find out the next morning, this guy was being loud again so a neighbor called it in. When the cops came by and told him to be quiet, this guy got pissed at the neighbor. He went and started banging on the neighbor's house windows etc trying to scare him and such. The police get called back and get this guy back into his house. They decided to stick around for a bit to make sure he doesn't start again. At this point he comes out of the house with a samurai sword growling and foaming at the mouth and charges at the officers. They tased him. He got charged with 5 felonies and several misdemeanors as well. My neighborhood is so peaceful now. While you were calling in noise complaints, he was studying the blade. Not a cop, but one night in college I was sitting on my balcony studying and the old lady next door is yelling and screaming at me to turn the noise down. I didn't do anything cause I'm just studying. No music, no laptop, just my books and notes. She called the cops. He talks to me. I give my statement about how she harasses anyone and everyone who is walking past her yard, whispering or just sitting outside. Police goes to get her statement and she slapped him across the face. I didn't hear the conversation but she did get arrested. So a simple noise complaint turned into the lady being arrested for assault. That's not just assault, it's assault on an officer, which if I recall correctly is a felony. First off, this is why we wolfpack every call even though our supervisors don't want us wasting time responding to seemingly simple noise complaints and 911 hang-ups. We had a noise complaint coming from a small community saying there was a party out in one of the arroyos down this long private drive. Like 3 or 4 calls saying there was a huge bonfire and music. 3 of us are on shift and start cruising out there. It's like 10 miles away, so we're driving fast but not running code. About 4 miles out we hear the ambulance get dispatched for a shots fired call in the same area and they are told to stage for law enforcement. We always get the med calls a few minutes after central so we keep cruising. The call from our dispatch catches up a couple minutes later telling us to expedite as the shots are coming from the same area we're headed to. We run code, get there, and see about 15 cars coming down the private drive. People start jumping out of passenger seats and back seats and running into the night. We squeeze by the line of cars. We pull up to the bonfire and get down with our rifles. One guy is laying on the ground shot. His girl is screaming and laying over him. There's still about 15 more abandoned cars and people are running everywhere. The guy ended up getting shot above his right nipple with a 9mm. He survived but wouldn't tell us who shot him. He and his girl both stated they didn't know anyone at the party even though it was 4 miles off the main road. Story from my dad's cop days. He and his partner respond to a call for a noise complaint and possible DV. It was at an apartment complex with a fenced-in courtyard. When they arrive, the husband is in the courtyard with a handgun popping off shots into the air. My dad calls in his sergeant. When he gets there, he tells my dad to walk around the complex to the other fenced inside. As my dad starts to head that way, his sergeant pulls a shotgun out of his cruiser. So my dad is finally in position. He is looking through the fence and hears his sergeant telling the guy to put the gun down. Dad looked away for a second and the guy must have pointed the gun at them because all he heard was the shotgun go off. When he looked back through the fence, the guy had his left hand up in the air and his right was just dangling by a piece of muscle. Dad's sergeant blew the guy's arm off. Now fast forward 15 plus years, dad is taking me shopping for football cleats. Hey son, see that guy over there, the guy with one arm? Yay, that's the guy my sergeant shot. He was buying soccer cleats for his little boy. When I was a senior in high school, we had a party at this dude's duplex. Yeah, it was classy. None of us were 21, but we were all drunk. Someone called the cops about the noise and traffic on the street. Cop shows up, was cool, just told us to take it inside. One of the girls asked the cop to check on the tenant next door because they heard the lady arguing with some guy. About that time, the guy staggers out of the duplex with a big ass knife sticking out of his chest and the lady behind him with another big ass knife in her hand. The cop draws on the lady and tells her to put the knife down, which she did, right between dude's shoulder blades. As drunk as I was, I thought I was seeing things, but nope, it happened. Police dispatch. We have these 3 crap motels, all within a 1-2 mile from one another. I coined them the Bermuda Triangle for and the bad crap insane stuff that happens at them. At the worst of them, we refer to the 3rd floor as the H&Ope floor. We respond there one night for report of a woman yelling. Nothing new really, but we'll check it out given the place's history. Take the stairs to the 3rd floor, walk a portion of floor and see blood smeared along the carpet. It's a trail. It's a wide trail of blood saturating the carpet. Which way to follow it? Eventually get to the elevator to find blood-soaked handprints on the doors. Ding. Hit the button. Doors open to find a woman, her hand reaching forward, skin pale white, moaning. Her other hand was across her midsection. Backup assists her. Backup followed the rest of the trail back to her room. No one else there. The white linens of the bed were completely drenched in thick, dark blood. Investigators said they had never seen so much blood at one scene. Blood was on the ceiling. Turns out this woman tried killing herself by slicing open her abdomen and cutting her wrists. She then decided that life was worth living and dragged herself through the hall to the elevator, yelling for help. No one helped, just pretended they didn't hear it, except the one person to dial 911. By that point she lost so much blood. When troopers found her, she was losing consciousness. She actually ended up surviving. Caterpie is here to give you good luck with evolutions like this video in 2 seconds for good luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.